Hello, welcome to our show Wireless News. I'm Roberta Prescott, Latin America editor. Alcatel-Lucent and Accenture just closed a 4-year agreement with Telefonica to deploy Alcatel-Lucent customer experience solution for Telefonica customers across Europe and Latin America. To further discuss this agreement, I'm joined by Greg Owen from Alcatel-Lucent. Hello, Greg, and thank you for joining our show.
My pleasure. Nice to see you.
The agreement results from an alliance formed by Alcatel and Accenture. Tell me more about it.
Well, Accenture is a large company that offers a lot of professional services and has a lot of contacts with a variety of different industries, what we call our enterprise segment. Obviously, Alcatel-Lucent has a lot of connections in the service provider community, and we felt that by working together closely in a partnership, we would be able to expand our audiences a little bit and have access to new markets. So we're doing a lot of joint meetings with service providers where we bring in Accenture to talk a little bit about the services that they offer. And Accenture is bringing us into some meetings with some partners with some customers, I should say, on the enterprise side in the more non-traditional business for Alcatel-Lucent. So we have a lot of services that are similar, but we address different markets. And we felt that by having a partnership, we could go to market with a stronger offer for those different markets. And Motive, as you mentioned earlier, in relation to the Telefonica deal and lots of others, Motive is a group within Alcatel-Lucent that's focused on customer experience management. And when we signed the deal with Accenture, Motive was identified as one of the initial areas that we'd like to try to expand and do more business together with Accenture. So this deal we've done with Telefonica is the first public deal that we've announced in the area of customer experience with Accenture, and in fact, the first big deal that we've done together as two companies.
And talking about this deal with Telefonica, I'm wondering how it will work. I mean, will Accenture implement Alcatel-Lucent products? Are you both are going to work together, and how do you plan to do it in different countries where Telefonica has operations?
Well, one of the things that Accenture is really good at is what they call transformation programs. And they work with customers to understand all the different systems that they have, and they look for efficiencies that can be realized with all of these different systems. So as far as Telefonica is involved, Accenture will be doing a lot of project management services and helping to roll out the products that Alcatel-Lucent offers. But in terms of actually installing the products, delivering the products, supporting the products, that will be still coming from Alcatel-Lucent. So it's like I said, Accenture builds sort of on their project management side and the expertise that they have in doing this bigger transformation that Telefonica is doing. Motive is just a part of that bigger transformation. In fact, Telefonica is also doing a big OSS transformation where they're trying to integrate hundreds of different systems together and focus on just a couple of key systems. So Alcatel-Lucent is focusing on the software. So for example, we're delivering what we call device management. We're bringing more self-service tools, improving the tools that their agents have to help what people call the help desk. And Accenture is doing some integration with some of the back-end systems as part of that project as well.
How does
I'm not sure if. Sorry,
go ahead. No, I was
just going to say I should provide a little bit of background on the Motive products, and I talk about self-service and device management. Is that clear what I mean by that, or should I go into that in more detail?
I was just about to ask you about this end-to-end customer experience solution. And I'm also wondering if it's going to be for all customers from mobile, residential, fixed operation, because I read in your press release that will go across mobile data, mobile voice, IPTV, high-speed internet, cable. And I'm curious about how are you going to put everything together, if it's going to be just one point of that customers have to reach Telefonica. Just give me more details on that, please.
Right. So there's a couple of parts to that question that I think are really important. So the first thing to highlight is indeed it is for fixed and mobile services. And a lot of what we're doing for Telefonica in the 12 different countries that we're now going to be working with them is built on what we've already done in Argentina. So currently, a lot of our customers, if you have an issue with your fixed service, whether it's high-speed internet or regular voice or TV, as you just highlighted, you would call one help desk. If you have an issue with your smartphone or your mobile device, you would call a different help desk. So what we're trying to do with more and more customers, and Telefonica in Argentina was the first example, is we're actually able to provide one help desk that customers can call, and they can get access to information about whatever service that they happen to be using at the time. And that's something that we have generally not done in the past. We have often provided services for IPTV deployments or high-speed internet deployments or mobile deployments. So doing it as a joint or a converged offer with Telefonica they're definitely leading the way in that regard. Now, in terms of how customers will contact Telefonica, the second part of your question I think is also very interesting. Obviously, when customers call the help desk, as I just mentioned, it's very frustrating when they get through to an agent who can't help them resolve their problem. Usually that's because the agents don't have access to detailed information, whether it's about the network or the device or the bill or some aspect of the customer experience. And the agent is left trying to kind of figure out what's happening. And that usually means accessing multiple different systems. So what we're doing in the case of assistant or agent assisted care is we're integrating a lot of different systems together for Telefonica and giving the agents one screen that they can look at and troubleshoot all the customer issues together with one screen without hopping between different systems. So there's obviously some great efficiencies to be realized there and making for a better customer experience. But that's what I would call on the reactive side. The other thing that we're doing with Telefonica and a handful of other customers is we're starting to give customers themselves the tools that they need to troubleshoot issues for themselves. And we call that self-service or self-care. So Telefonica Argentina last year launched an application for Android devices where people can actually troubleshoot some common issues with their service from their smartphone or their tablet. They can change settings, they can change their billing, their profile, different information. And we're going to be adding in this new contract with Telefonica that same functionality for the other 11 countries that Telefonica does business in. So whether you're calling the help desk or whether you want to troubleshoot issues yourself at home, you'll now have access to the same systems.
You mentioned it started already in Argentina. How long does it will take to implement across all Latin America and European units?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure the terms of the deal. Usually a deal like this will take anywhere from 2 to 3 years, depending on the rollout strategy. And I don't have those details at my fingertips, but what we generally do is we will start in a specific country and we identify the specific challenges of that country, and then we try to tackle the bigger challenges. Let me give you an example. We have another big deployment that we just did with a customer in the Middle East. We sit down with them, and just as we're doing with Telefonica right now, and we identify the top 5 issues that would cause a customer to call the help desk. So in the case of the customer in the Middle East, we identified 10 main issues that were driving about 80% of the calls to the help desk. And then we build what we call workflows. And a workflow is a step-by-step procedure to help troubleshoot an issue when a customer calls about that particular problem. So what we're doing right now with Telefonica, and we've already done it in Argentina, but we're doing it in the other countries, is we're trying to see what are the top 10 most common reasons that a customer would call the help desk. Is it a billing issue? Is it an issue with the device? Is it coverage? We can do that by looking at the records from their call centers, what we call the call detail records. And then we'll develop customized workflows for each of those countries. Now, in some cases, we can reuse the workflows. That's one of the advantages of doing a big contract like this for Telefonica in many countries. For the TV service, for example, we may have a common issue that we see in all of the countries. So we can build a workflow once that's used in all 12 countries, and then we just have to make some modifications to it based on language, whether it has to be in Spanish or another language, depending on the country. So those projects can take a couple of years, but what we do is we usually start with the quick fixes, which we can do in a couple of months. So we can identify the top 10 drivers, we can build workflows, and we can usually tackle 80% of the issues within the first few months.
And what are the most difficult things to when you are implementing this kind of customer experience solution? I mean, it is to engage employees, and or is it to put all systems together in a unique view? What can you say about it?
Right. So it's definitely both of those things, but I would put the second thing you mentioned at first. It's making sure that the agents have all the information that they need. That is usually the biggest challenge. Let me give you a few examples. When a service provider offers a new service, it often comes with dedicated support systems. So if they launch a 3G wireless network, it comes with its own billing system. When they launch a 4G network, it can sometimes come with its own billing system. We have some customers that have dozens of different billing systems. So if you were to call the help desk and say that you're having an issue with your device, and the agent did not have access to the billing system to see whether you had paid your bill or not, that agent could spend a lot of time troubleshooting a technical issue when the issue may be that you've been cut off because you haven't paid your bill. Now, that doesn't happen in all countries, but yeah, so that's a very common issue that we see in many, many countries. So that is the biggest challenge, is making sure that the agents have access to the information that allow them to pinpoint exactly what is going on so they can focus their efforts in the right direction. That's definitely the biggest issue. Now, the second one you mentioned is actually quite interesting, and that has to do with acceptance of the employees. So what we find is that help desks are usually divided into levels, what we call tiers. So you have a tier 1 agent, is the agent that would answer the phone when you call the help desk. And for a lot of our customers, that tier 1 agent, their job is to basically figure out why you're calling, and then that can help you. Is it a mobile issue? Is it a billing issue? And that first agent doesn't often have the information they need to actually resolve the issue. So our solution is designed to really target those tier 1 agents so that they're not just picking up the phone and putting you through to somebody else, but giving them the tools that they can actually troubleshoot for themselves. And those agents are usually very, very accepting of a tool that helps simplify their job. And I've sat in a couple of different call centers in North America and sat in and watched the agents and listened to them take calls. And when you have a lot of different screens in front of you, that job can be very, very stressful because you're trying to talk to the customer on the phone and be very calm and listen to their issue. And at the same time, out of one eye, you're sort of logging into a different system and trying to get information for them. So most agents are very, very open to new tools. Now, we have had some examples where the agents aren't quite as open. And we had a customer in Asia that had this issue. They called it, it was a compliance issue. Some agents prefer to troubleshoot issues for themselves rather than use the print. So what we did is we decided we would use that group of agents who weren't using our tool and do a little bit of a scientific experiment. And we compared the results between the agents that were not using our tools and the agents that were using our tools. And we did that for a period of 2 months. And at the end of that period, we found that the agents that were not using our tools were twice as likely to have to send a truck or a technician to the customer's home to resolve the issue. And that the feedback from the customer afterwards is they weren't as satisfied with the experience as when they were talking to an agent that were using our tools. So we have that result from our customer in Asia that we share with a lot of customers that we then share with the agents. And we explain to them that the purpose of our tools is not to make you to control what you say and control what you do, but to give you the tools that you need to do your job better. And we do find that when it's positioned in that way, and once the agents start using the tools, they usually come to love them. And I'll give you one final example. This was an interesting story. I was visiting a call center here in Canada where I'm based, and I was sitting with a woman who was doing troubleshooting for TV services. And I sat with her for a couple of hours, and people were calling about set-top boxes not working and not getting any volume on their TV. And she was troubleshooting all these issues using these workflows that we had designed. And then as we were chatting, she told me that she did not own a television. And that was unusual to me because, A, living in North America, it seems that everybody has 1 or 2 or 3 televisions. So to meet someone that didn't own a television was unusual. But the fact that she was troubleshooting TV issues when she didn't even own a television, to me, really spoke to the power of the tools that we can deliver.
Interesting. Um, So, thank you. My last question is regarding the memorandum of understanding signed today on April the 5th between Nokia to and Alcatel-Lucent to Nokia to acquire Alcatel-Lucent. Does it affect this agreement with Telefonica? Will it change anything about it?
No, definitely not. I mean, the announcement just came out officially today, so I'm learning about it in the same time that you are. We actually have a meeting with our CEO in an hour's time where he's going to explain the implications. But let me assure you, we've been through this before as a company. Alcatel-Lucent merged together in 2006, and our focus is always going to be on delivering for our customers. We absolutely have no intention of taking our eye off the ball. And I can tell you in the area of customer experience management, Nokia and Alcatel-Lucent have a lot of assets to bring to the table. And I think that when you combine those assets together, we're going to have a very, very strong offer to bring to the market. Now, I'm not sure exactly when the deal is going to close. It's probably sometime later in 2015. But for the time being, we're still operating as two separate companies. And everything that we've committed to Telefonica, we're absolutely going to deliver.
That's great. So, Greg, thank you very much for having the time with RCR Wireless News.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So I'm Roberta Prescott, and follow all RCR Wireless News at rcrwireless.com.